The night sky above the alien world was calm, full of glowing stars and drifting clouds. But far beyond that sky, in the dark sea of space, a storm of fire had already begun. A human ship, lost and broken, was falling apart after a great battle. Its metal walls burned like red dust against the void. Alarms screamed through the corridors. Inside, silence followed the chaos, as one by one, the crew had fallen. Only a single heartbeat remained. He was weak, his breath heavy, his eyes half closed, and his body close to giving up. That one human was drifting alone in the wreckage, waiting for the cold of space to take him. But fate had other plans. Not far from the ruins, an alien vessel was moving quietly. Its people, explorers of the unknown, had never seen a human before. They detected the broken ship on their scanners and at first thought it was only empty metal. Yet, one signal stood out. A faint life sign, weak but stubborn, beating against the silence of death. The aliens were curious. Life was sacred to them. They believed that no matter the species, no matter the form, a living being had value. So they turned their ship, risking their safety, and approached the burning remains. Their leader ordered his crew, "Bring whatever is alive aboard. Save it." The alien rescuers pulled the fragile body of the human from the wreck. His skin was pale, his breath slow, and his heart almost silent. They carried him into their medical chamber, unsure what kind of creature he was. His form was strange to them: 2 arms, 2 legs, soft skin, and no scales. Some whispered in fear. Others whispered in wonder. But one thing was certain: they could not let him die. Hours passed as the aliens worked. Machines hummed. Strange lights glowed over his body. The healers used their most advanced tools, trying to restart his strength. At last, his chest rose with deeper breath, and his eyes opened. He saw them, figures with long arms, shining skin, and eyes like silver glass. For a moment, fear struck him. He did not know where he was, nor who they were. But then he felt something else. He felt no pain. He felt no harm. They had saved him. The aliens, too, were silent as they watched his eyes flicker open. They waited to see if he would fight, if he would scream, if he would strike. But the human only whispered one word, soft and broken: "Why?" The aliens did not answer. They could not speak his language, and he could not speak theirs. Yet something passed between them in that silence. Something powerful. They had shown mercy without reason. They had saved one human, not knowing what that single choice would mean. Outside the chamber, some aliens began to argue. "He is dangerous," one said. "We do not know his kind. We should not have brought him here." Another replied, "He was dying. We could not leave him. To let life end when we could stop it, that would be wrong." Their leader listened and said nothing. He looked through the glass at the human resting inside. Something deep within told him this was not just a rescue. This was the beginning of something greater. On the other side, the human slowly sat up. His strength was not fully back, but his mind was racing. He looked around the alien ship, at the strange glowing walls, the soft hum of engines, and the figures that studied him with careful eyes. He felt both small and alive in a way he never had before. He realized these beings had risked their safety to bring him here. They could have left him in the cold silence of space, but they did not. Gratitude filled him, but also fear. What would happen next? The narrator's voice rises. That one act of kindness was the start of a storm no one could stop. The aliens thought they had saved only one life. But what they truly saved was the key to something unthinkable. The screen fades to black, leaving the question burning in the audience's mind: what will humanity do when they learn? The human sat quietly in the strange room, his eyes moving from one glowing wall to another. Every sound felt new, every movement around him filled with wonder and fear. The aliens stood at a distance, their eyes bright and unblinking, studying him as if he was a mystery brought to life. They spoke to each other in low voices, their language soft but filled with sharp tones, like music mixed with thunder. The human could not understand them, but he could feel their tension. They did not know what he was, and he did not know what they wanted. Hours passed slowly, like days. Food was brought to him, though it was nothing like the food he had ever known. Strange glowing liquid in a silver cup, and soft pieces of something that looked alive but tasted sweet and calm. He hesitated at first, unsure if it was safe. But hunger pushed him to try, and he felt strength return to his body. The aliens watched his every move, noting how he ate, how he breathed, how his hands shook slightly. For them, this was history. Never before had their kind met a human. To them, he was the first of his species they had ever touched. Their healers continued to run scans, lights flashing over his skin, machines recording the rhythm of his heart. They spoke of him as if he were a miracle. Some called him fragile, others called him dangerous, but all agreed he was unlike anything they had ever seen. The human tried to speak, his voice weak, but the aliens shook their heads, not understanding. They tried their own words, but he too was lost. A wall of silence stood between them, a wall built of language and fear. Yet even without words, something else began to grow. When the human looked into their silver eyes, he saw no hatred. When the aliens looked at his tired face, they saw no threat. A connection was forming, thin as a thread, but strong enough to pull them closer. One evening, the human took a small piece of metal from his torn uniform, something that had survived the crash. He held it out with shaky hands, offering it to the alien leader. It was nothing more than a broken badge, but to him, it was a symbol of who he was, of where he came from. The alien leader accepted it with careful hands, studying the strange markings carved into it. He did not know what it meant, but he understood it was important. Slowly, he placed one of their own symbols into the human's hand, a crystal that glowed softly in the dark. 2 worlds, 2 lives, trading signs without words. That small moment became the first step of trust. Outside the chamber, not everyone agreed. Some aliens whispered in fear. "We should send him away. He is a shadow of a greater force. If one came here, more will follow. And what if they are not kind?" Others answered, "He was saved. He is alive. If we send him away, he will die. What kind of people would we be then?" Their voices clashed like storms, but the leader remained calm. He knew this human was not just a survivor. He was a messenger, even if he did not yet know it. The human began to draw pictures on the floor with pieces of broken wire. He sketched circles for planets, stars for suns, and a small shape for himself. The aliens watched, fascinated, as he pointed upward, then placed his hand on his chest. He was telling them about his home, about a world far away. They responded in their own way, drawing long shapes to show their ships and shining dots for their stars. A dialogue without words had begun. Each picture was a bridge, each gesture a path across the silence. Days passed, and with each passing day, the bond grew stronger. The human told them about courage by showing a clenched fist. He told them about love by holding his hand over his heart. And when he spoke of family, his eyes grew wet, and the aliens understood that he missed something more than life itself. The aliens listened, their silver eyes softening, and some even felt something they had never known before, sympathy for a creature not of their world. Yet in the quiet of the ship, fear still lingered. For somewhere deep in space, the human signal had already escaped. Earth now knew he was alive. The aliens did not yet understand what this meant, but the narrator's voice whispers, "When you save one life, you may call it mercy. But when you save a human life, you awaken all of humanity." The story leaves a shadow of suspense. What happens when the humans people arrive? Far away from the alien ship, beyond stars and endless dark, Earth was listening. Deep under the oceans, in secret bases hidden from the sky, machines searched for signals from lost ships. Most days they found nothing, only the cold echo of silence. But then one day, a faint sound broke through. A weak signal, scattered like dust, reached the receivers. At first it was nothing more than broken code, static and noise. But hidden inside, there was a heartbeat. The machines caught it, the scientists studied it, and then the truth was found. One of their own was alive. The name of the lost crew appeared on the screens, and among them, one signal was marked as still breathing. The room filled with shock and disbelief. A man who should have been dead was alive, held somewhere far beyond human space. And even more shocking, the data showed something strange. The signal did not come from human technology alone. It carried traces of energy unknown to Earth, something alien. Leaders were called, commanders gathered, and whispers spread across nations. For years humanity had dreamed of life beyond the stars, but this was no dream. Someone out there had saved a human, and that truth was now in human hands. The news could not be hidden. Soon it spread from soldier to citizen, from cities to villages. Across the world, people spoke the same words: they saved one of us. For some, fear grew. What kind of beings had this power, and what did they want? But for many, a fire was lit in their hearts. The idea that strangers from another world would risk themselves to save a single human filled them with something greater than fear. It filled them with duty. Humanity had always been divided, by nations, by borders, by conflict. But in that moment, those lines began to blur. This was not about one land or one people. This was about all of humanity. They could not let this act of mercy pass without answer. They could not remain silent when kindness had been shown to one of their own. A great council was formed. Voices of leaders and thinkers filled a hall larger than any before. Some shouted for caution. We do not know them. We do not know their strength. What if this is a trap? Others answered with hope. If they wished harm, the human would already be dead. They saved him when they had no reason to. What better sign do we need? The debate shook the room, but beneath every word was the same truth. Something had changed forever. A vote was taken, and the choice was clear. Humanity would answer. Not with silence. Not with weapons. But with presence. A fleet was prepared, larger than any in history. Ships were made ready, fuel stored, and crews chosen. They were not soldiers alone but also healers, scholars, and envoys. Their mission was not to conquer but to return the gift. And as the great engines roared to life, the people of Earth looked to the skies with pride. A mother held her child and whispered, "They saved one of us. They will see that we remember." The rescued human, still on the alien ship, did not know what was coming. He slept under the strange glow of alien lights, unaware that across the galaxy, his survival had united a species. On the alien vessel, whispers of worry grew louder. The healers saw changes in their machines, signs that something powerful was moving toward them. Their leader stared at the stars, his mind heavy with doubt. He wondered if saving one life had been a mistake. But then he looked at the human, fragile yet full of silent strength, and he felt a strange peace. Somewhere in the distance, the hum of human ships grew louder, crossing space like thunder rolling in the dark. The narrator's voice rises. A signal meant for rescue had become a call to arms, not for war, but for gratitude. The galaxy did not know it yet, but humanity was coming. And when humanity comes, it never comes alone. Suspense hangs heavy as the story asks, what will the aliens see when the first human fleet arrives at their skies? The alien ship drifted in calm silence, its crew still watching the fragile human they had saved. 4 days, they had studied him, fed him, and tried to understand his strange ways. But beyond their knowledge, something greater was moving through the stars. The first signs came as whispers from their long-range scanners. Faint energy readings, strange pulses, echoes of engines too strong to belong to any world they knew. At first they thought it was natural, the birth of a star or the storm of a comet. But soon the signals grew stronger, sharper, clearer. Dozens of sources. Hundreds. A fleet was coming. The aliens grew uneasy. They spoke of danger, of invasion, of destruction. "It is his kind," one said in fear. "They come for him, and when they find us, they will see us as enemies." The leader stood silent, eyes locked on the distant stars, his mind heavy with doubt. He had chosen to save the human, but now that choice seemed like the spark of a storm. The rescued human felt the tension too. He did not know the details, but he sensed change. The aliens who once watched him with curiosity now looked at him with fear. He tried to speak, to explain, but his words still meant nothing to their ears. Instead, he drew again with broken wires on the floor, this time not stars or planets but ships. Large ships, many together, and he pointed at himself. The aliens stared at the drawing, their faces pale. They understood his message. His people were coming. Across the darkness of space, the human fleet grew closer, their ships vast and gleaming, their engines roaring like giants. To them this mission was not war but duty. They came not with weapons raised but with open signals of peace. Yet to the aliens who had never seen such power before, the sight was terrifying. Never in their history had they faced a force so vast. Fear spread through their ship, and some demanded to leave at once. "If they come for us, we must run," one shouted. "We cannot fight them. We cannot stop them." But the leader raised his hand for silence. He looked again at the human, small and fragile, yet alive only because of their mercy. He thought of the choice they had made, and he knew there was no turning back. They had saved him, and now they must face whatever followed. The moment arrived when the first human ship appeared at the edge of their skies. It was massive, larger than anything the aliens had imagined, a fortress of light and steel. Behind it came another, and another, until the sky itself seemed filled with shadows. The aliens watched from their windows, hearts frozen in fear. Every instinct told them this was invasion, the end of their world. But then, something unexpected happened. Instead of weapons, the human ships sent light. Signals flashed across the dark, a language of beams and patterns. The alien crew scrambled to decode them, their machines humming. Soon the message became clear: "We come in peace. We come to thank you. You saved one of us. Now we return for all of you." The aliens could not believe it. These giants of steel, these endless ships, had not come to destroy but to honor. Yet doubt still lingered. Could it be a trick? Could kindness hide a blade? The alien leader ordered the ship to hold its place, to watch, to wait. And then the human fleet began to move closer, but slowly, carefully, their weapons silent, their shields lowered. From the central ship, a smaller vessel detached and drifted forward. Inside it were not soldiers in armor but envoys, faces calm, hands empty. They carried no weapons, only gifts and tools of peace. The rescued human saw this and felt his heart race. He knew his people had come not to fight, but to show gratitude. He pressed his hand to his chest and looked at the alien leader, his eyes bright with hope. The leader studied him, torn between fear and trust. He thought of the moment they pulled him from the wreck, the choice they had made, and how that choice had led to this moment. He realized the galaxy was changing before his eyes. The narrator's voice rises: "The aliens feared an invasion, but what they received was something greater. Humanity had come, not with war, but with the weight of gratitude. Yet peace is never simple, and trust is never easy." One choice had led to this meeting, but what followed could shake the stars themselves. Suspense thickens as the screen fades, leaving the question: will two worlds join hands, or will fear tear them apart? The alien ship floated in silence as the human fleet surrounded it like giants of steel. Fear still filled the alien crew, but their leader stood firm, watching the small envoy ship that moved closer. Inside that vessel sat humans, dressed not in armor but in simple suits, their hands empty, their faces calm. When they docked with the alien craft, the tension was heavy, every sound sharp like thunder in the air. The aliens prepared their defenses, afraid of betrayal, yet they allowed the humans to step aboard. For the first time in history, two species stood face to face. The rescued human, still weak but alive, rushed forward with trembling steps. His eyes lit up at the sight of his own people, and he spoke words the aliens could not understand but could feel in his voice. Gratitude, relief, and hope poured out of him. The human envoys turned to the alien leader, and though their languages were different, machines quickly bridged the gap. With slow, careful words, the envoy spoke: "We are not here to fight. We are here because of what you did. You saved one of us. You saved him when you had no reason to. For that, we are forever in your debt." The alien leader listened in silence, his silver eyes narrowed with caution. The weight of the human fleet pressed on his thoughts, yet the words of the envoy struck deep. The humans continued, their voices steady. "We bring knowledge. We bring aid. We bring alliance. We do not come to take from you. We come to give, because your act of kindness demands an answer." The aliens shifted uneasily. Some whispered that this was only a trick, that behind every gift there was a hidden blade. Others stared in wonder, their fear slowly melting into curiosity. The rescued human stepped between them, holding the crystal the alien leader had once given him, and the broken badge he had offered in return. He raised both high, one in each hand, symbols of two worlds meeting. His eyes were wet, his voice weak, but his meaning was clear. He was the bridge. The alien leader's heart trembled at the sight. In that fragile figure, he saw not danger but truth. They had saved one life, but in doing so, they had touched something far greater. He spoke to his people, his words heavy with meaning. "We gave mercy, and mercy has returned. If this is a trick, then it is the strangest trick I have ever known. If it is truth, then we stand on the edge of something greater than we dreamed." The human envoys then revealed more. They showed images of Earth, oceans and mountains, cities and fields, billions of lives living under the same sky. They spoke of history, of struggle, of victories and failures, of how humanity had been shaped by fire and sorrow yet always rose again. They spoke of family, of bonds that stretched beyond blood, and of loyalty that burned brighter than fear. And then they said the words that changed everything. "We came here not only to thank you. We came here to promise this. If ever your people are in danger, if ever your worlds are threatened, you will not stand alone. You saved one of us. We return for all of you." The aliens gasped. Never before had they heard such a vow. In their history, mercy was often small, given to one and forgotten the next day. But here was a species that answered mercy with alliance, kindness with devotion. The alien crew looked at their leader, waiting for his decision. His eyes stayed fixed on the envoys, and at last, he gave a slow nod. "Then let it be known," he said, "that on this day, two worlds chose trust over fear." Yet even as hope filled the air, shadows still lingered. Not all aliens trusted this promise, and even among the humans, some questioned the risk of such an alliance. Outside the ship, the galaxy itself shifted, for news of this meeting would spread, and not all who heard it would celebrate. Some would fear it, some would hate it, and some would prepare for war. The narrator's voice deepens. The aliens thought they had saved a single fragile being. They thought it was an act of mercy that would end in silence. But humanity does not forget. Humanity answers. And when humanity answers, it answers with all its strength. Suspense grows as the story closes on the image of two hands, one human, one alien, meeting at last, while the stars above watch in silence, waiting for the unthinkable that is yet to come. The stars were silent witnesses to what had been born between two worlds. A human fleet and an alien vessel floated side by side, no longer as strangers but as allies bound by a single act of mercy. The rescued human sat among them, no longer weak but filled with a strange strength, for he knew he had become the bridge that connected two species. The alien leader stood tall, his silver eyes calm, and the human envoy's voice carried across the chamber with steady words. "We are one now. What you began, we will finish together." For a brief moment, hope filled the air like light breaking through endless night. But hope in the galaxy never lives without shadow. Far beyond their ships, in the dark corners of space, other races had watched. They had seen the rise of this new bond, and fear grew in their hearts. For generations, the galaxy had been ruled by silence and fear, where species fought alone and mercy was rare. Now, a new alliance was forming, one that could change everything. Whispers spread among the stars. The humans have awakened. The aliens have chosen them. Together, they will rise. Some watched with envy, some with dread, and some with plans of war. Back on the alien ship, messages began to arrive from nearby systems. Threats, warnings, demands to end this friendship before it could grow. The alien crew trembled, knowing that enemies were already moving against them. The leader looked at the human envoy and spoke words heavy with truth. By saving one of you, we may have doomed ourselves. Our enemies will see this as weakness, and they will come for us. The envoy's answer was firm. Then they will face not you alone, but all of us. Humanity does not leave its friends to die. His words struck deep, and the alien crew felt something they had never felt before, a strength not born of numbers or weapons but of loyalty. The humans proved their vow quickly. When the first hostile ships appeared at the edge of the system, bristling with weapons and filled with hate, the human fleet did not retreat. They formed a wall of steel around the alien vessel, their engines burning, their weapons ready. The aliens watched in awe as the humans stood between them and death, ready to bleed for a people they had just met. The battle that followed was swift and fierce. The hostile ships fired, but the humans answered with fire greater still. Their ships moved with power and precision, their weapons burning like suns. The aliens had never seen such fury, not for conquest but for protection. When the fight ended, silence returned to space, and the hostile ships were gone, broken and fleeing into the void. The alien crew stood in silence, staring at the human fleet that had saved them. Their leader's voice was low but strong. You did not lie. You came not for one of you, but for all of us. The envoy only nodded. This is who we are. You gave mercy without reason, and humanity will never forget. From this day, your people are our people. Your fight is our fight. And together, we will face whatever comes. The galaxy shook as the news spread. A new alliance had been born, one stronger than fear, one that promised to break the chains of silence that had held countless species apart. For some, this was hope. For others, it was the beginning of war. Yet none could deny the truth. The unthinkable had happened. One life saved had awakened the power of billions. One act of mercy had changed the balance of the stars. The rescued human looked at the alien leader, then at the stars beyond the window, and whispered words the machines translated. You saved me. But you also saved all of us. And now, together, we will save many more. The narrator's voice deepens as the screen fades to black. They thought they saved only one human. They thought it was an act of kindness that would end in silence. But they did not know humanity. For when humanity is called, it comes with all its strength, all its heart, and all its fire. And in that moment, the galaxy itself learned the truth. Never save a human unless you are ready for all of humanity to arrive.